Welcome back everybody to another episode of Direct Comparison. In today's episode, we're going to take another look at DICE's World War I game, Battlefield 1. And this time, we'll be comparing it to another World War I game, an indie game called Verdun. Now I want to make this clear ahead of time, this is only a graphic comparison, and I'm well aware that one is a AAA production, while the other is a small indie project. But I still find it interesting to look at some direct comparisons like gun models, texture quality, and various other minor details. So to start this off, I tested a few weapons that are shared between the two games, including the BAR, the MP18, the Lewis gun, and the M1903 sniper rifle. While the lighting is much more realistic than Battlefield 1, Verdun actually crams more weapon details into the gun models. You can see very fine details etched into this 1911 that are completely missing from the model in Battlefield 1. Now this could be an authenticity thing, so if any of you gun nuts can point this out in the comments, go ahead. But from what I'm seeing here, Verdun seems to have more faithful models to the real-life counterparts. Verdun also seems to have more authentic reloading animations than Battlefield 1. I especially like the attention to detail when reloading the BAR. Also, the actual weapons themselves feel much more powerful in Verdun thanks to the more realistic gameplay and style. One shot from pretty much any of these guns will be enough to kill an enemy player, whereas Battlefield 1 is more of an approachable game for a wider audience, allowing you to survive several bullets before dying. When firing the weapons, the differences between the games becomes even more apparent. Verdun's muzzle flash and recoil design looks pathetic by today's standards, and they didn't even really look that good when the game initially released back in 2015. Very low quality sprites appear at the end of the barrel, and it reminds me of something out of Battlefield 1942. One of the more interesting weapons in Verdun are these sniper rifles, especially the scopes. I think these look much better than they do in Battlefield 1. The scope image is actually visible even without aiming, and when you do aim, the scope looks small and dirty, which feels like a more authentic experience. Meanwhile, Battlefield 1 scopes are pristine and the differences are pretty apparent. The Lewis gun looks pretty bad in Verdun when compared to Battlefield, but it is interesting that you can't aim down the sights unless you deploy a bipod in Verdun. This design worked great in games like Day of Defeat, and I assume it wasn't adopted into the Battlefield games for the sake of keeping the gameplay fast-paced, which I'm fine with. Since both games take place during World War I, both games have access to gas masks, and I do like how Battlefield 1 handles this feature, forcing players to only fire from the hip when wearing the mask, but allowing them to easily pass through chemical weapons without taking any damage. The gas mask in Verdun does look more authentic though, especially when putting it on, and I like the idea of seeing the little eye hole designs and limiting the player's vision. Next, let's take a look at some grenades. The grenades in Verdun are actually pretty underwhelming. The sound design is really weak, and I often had grenades explode with muted sounds. The effect itself is brief and weak, whereas Battlefield 1's destructive environments allow grenades to leave a permanent mark in the game world, while also shaking the screen and causing jets of dirt to fly up in multiple directions. Ground textures in Battlefield 1 are also superior, with an incredible amount of depth and detail when you look closely, though Verdun doesn't seem too far behind, which is impressive considering the less than stellar character models and animations. Water quality and things like puddles are about the same in both, but if you've played Battlefield 1, you probably know that the game's larger bodies of water look fantastic with nice wave simulation. And finally, we have some shadow quality comparisons here. Again, as expected, Battlefield 1 has much higher resolution shadows, and the dynamic movement of the trees makes for a more impressive shadow cast. But Verdun holds its own, and the static shadows in the game world actually look pretty good. Now for the rest of this video, I'm going to show a few extended side-by-side gameplay clips to help give you a better idea of how these two stack up. Thank you all for watching, and I hope this video was interesting to you guys. Feel free to leave any questions or comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more content posted every week. And I will see you all next time.